Om Jnanatimantasya Jnanasakya Sakshanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyai Dasatani. So,
Hare Krishna. We welcome to all the sannyas candidates in today's evening session, a very special session on Harinama Cintamani to be taken by His Holiness Bhakti Prabhav Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. We are very fortunate to hear on this topic.
So yesterday we discussed the two first offenses, Sadhuninda, and then and seeing the demigods as equal or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. And that we heard yesterday also that surrendering to the holy name, if we surrender to the holy name, then we will automatically develop all these good qualities and not criticize others. But surrender means that surrender to Krishna's instructions and avoiding the offenses. It's not just chanting. It's chanting with the appropriate mood of respect, and committing these 10 offenses goes against it. And that surrender means consciously accepting what's favorable is for Krishna consciousness, rejecting what's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. Seeing Krishna as my only maintainer and my only protector. That, and then, yes, then one comes to surrender and becomes humble. So avoiding what's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness is especially these 10 offenses. That these 10 offenses are against bhakti, are against the they hamper our progress in devotional service. That we chant Hare Krishna, but then we commit these offenses. That's at the same time we are Krishna, slapping Krishna in the face. Of course, such offensive chanting will not lead to the purification of the heart or to come to the point of giving up criticism. That's not possible. That so today we will discuss the third offense, Go Avakya. This morning I was hearing a lecture on Bhagavad Gita from Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was explaining that he was explaining who is a guru, that and Srila Prabhupada explains this in many, many ways in his lectures, but he explained here a guru is someone who knows about Krishna, who explains the process of devotional service to the ignorant, because only if they follow this process of devotional service can they get rid of their ignorance and come out of suffering. And then finally develop love for Krishna. Now, one of the offenses is Go Avakya. not following the instructions of the spiritual master, that or disobeying the Guru's instructions. That so this, when I worked on it, I became aware. Of course, I was aware already before, but this presentation will also highlight some things which went wrong within the history of ISKCON. But I prefer not to go too deep into that. But let us try to understand the basic principles explained here by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this Harinama Cintamani in the year 1900. And we'll see, Prabhupada was 4 years old, but he speaks about the founder Acharya and the importance of the founder Acharya also. That so we will look a little more deeper into this. So first, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, the human body is a rare opportunity. That's also brought forward by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, 761, I think. Kamara achat parhyo dharmam bharvatamyam durlapam manasam jamyam tapya dhuruvan achtadam. The Prahlad Maharaj is saying here that one was sufficiently intelligent, he should use this human form of life from the very beginning of life, from the Kamara age. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagement, just doing this Bhagavad Dharma, this devotional service. Because the human body, he says, is most rarely achieved. And that's also what Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes here. The human body is a rare opportunity. Although the human body is temporary, it's meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. So the human body is special because it allows the living entity to expand its consciousness into the spiritual platform and realize his constitutional position, his relationship with Krishna. The demigods in heavenly plans there is 1,000 times more opportunity for enjoyment, and therefore to control the senses and the mind, it's practically impossible. Too much enjoyment. So it's not an atmosphere to make progress in devotional service. And the animal body is there in ignorance complete and no possibility of receiving knowledge, understanding anything that. So that's the first words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then he speaks about the Guru's main qualification. Lord Chaitanya says that also it's stated in Chaitanya's Charitamrita somewhere that one who knows the signs of Krishna consciousness, he is Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, the main qualification by which to judge who is a suitable, bona fide Guru is how much the Guru knows about Krishna. This should be the main consideration in choosing a guru. For us sannyasis of traveling preachers, we meet so many new people who are interested in Krishna consciousness, and they are looking for a guru. So this is important to explain to them. This is the main qualification. Knowing the signs of Krishna. Because mostly they have false reasons. False reasons are, oh, this guru is inspiring me. That's nice, but that's insufficient as a reason for determining who is a bona fide guru. Or this guru has many disciples, or this guru has accomplished great achievements, opening temples and so on. Or the guru is a recognized guru, is on the list of gurus. No. They should not choose a guru out of the list. That is an inbuilt offense, because that's Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, equal. Should be given equal respect. That they have a different function. We will come to that. But this is dangerous. They should test the disciple. The disciple should test the guru for 1 year, and the guru should test the disciple. This was the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. That to see as this guru, his main qualification, does he know Krishna consciousness, to understand him clearly, and does that help me to progress in spiritual life, his instructions? So other qualification of a guru is he must of course be a devotee of Lord Krishna. And in the Guru Parampara and so on, many qualifications, but he must have conquered his senses. Patsho vegam anasakoda vegam jiva vegam uttarapasta vegam etam vegam yofiseta dira sarvamapimam pritvinna sisyat. A sober man who can tolerate the urges to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. It's nectar of instruction. First one, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about other things which we generally not hear in relation to the Guru. But first, the general thing, the disciple inquires submissively. Being satisfied with his answers, the jiva takes initiation from him and crosses over the material suffering. Of course, being satisfied with his answers in the purport of Bhagavad Gita 434, Srila Prabhupada writes, one should inquire submissively, but one should not blind following, should test everything, that not blindly accepting. Ask questions if things are unclear. That's ask questions to know how it should be applied in my life. So that's an important aspect of the relationship with the Guru. And many times, beginning devotees who want to accept me as Shiksha Guru or whatever it means. But But then, yes, that's nice, but what's the relationship? If you say yes and then you don't hear from them, they never ask questions. There's no relationship. That so we don't take a goal as a yeah for the fashion of having a goal or something, of being recognized. No, there must be factual relationship. Being satisfied with answers, the jiva takes initiation from him and crosses over the material ocean. That, yes. Interesting. Here Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about it's something quite different. But he says the householder may take a goal with either a householder or announced. Either is suitable. Accepting and performing sadhana bhakti, the householder will eventually achieve the stage of bhava, at which time his attraction for family life and sense gratification will cease. At that stage, he will naturally give up household life and enter the renounced order. We don't see that much, but the person should seek out an acharya in the renounced order and take his instructions. That shows that when one takes the renounced order of life, there is a need of a sannyasa school. That so one can take as guru a householder guru, but then when one takes sannyas, one must have a renounced guru, a sannyas guru. I found this interesting. Then two types of guru. Of course, I'm not going to go deep in it. You know all these things. There is the Diksha Guru and the Shiksha Guru. The Diksha Guru gives the mantra, but the Diksha gives also Shiksha. That and the Shiksha Guru also. They give both, especially knowledge of Sambandhagyan, who is Krishna, who we are, what our relationship is, that, and then Abhideyagyan, how to practice this relationship. So this Diksha and Shiksha Guru should be considered equal by one who wants to advance quickly. Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27. Acharya mam vichanyam navmanyeta karichit amartya buddha buddhya sujeta sarvadeva maya guru. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him as an ordinary man who is representative of all the demigods. So Krishna says the Acharya. The Shiksha Guru is an Acharya, the Diksha Guru is not an Acharya. They should be given equal respect, of equal importance here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said equal importance. So distinguishing between Diksha and Shiksha Guru, giving them different respect is an offense, Guru Avashya, and will hamper our progress. That I heard always Bhakti Charumaharaj telling us that you should take advantage and take instructions from everyone who is more advanced than you. That interesting. That because that is an offense. I listen only to my guru and not to the others, and that brings up that guru groupism in ISKCON, which is a poison, and which is against this, not only against this etiquette, but according to these instructions here is go avakya. That should be careful not to promote that, but explain to the devotees to that they should give equal importance to Shiksha and Diksha Guru. Of course, we know a person can only accept one Diksha Guru and have many Shiksha Guru, so both gives Sambandha Gyan. Okay. The Diksha Guru that so the Diksha Guru will formally give disciples the name of Krishna or a mantra containing the name of Krishna to chant as his sadhana. That's a very general statement. Of course, in our line, the Guru gives the Hare Krishna mantra, 16 names of Krishna to chant. But we find in Priyad Bhagavatamrita, Gop Kumar receives from his Guru the Gopal mantra, which is the 6th mantra in our Gayatri mantra, and he chants that mantra. But of course, in our Sampradaya, it's the Hare Krishna mantra. And now we find it very something interesting. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about the founder Acharya of the Sampradaya. That was in 1900. Prabhupada was 4 years old, but of course, also like Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, they were also considered as founder acharyas. So he says the Sambandha or teachings are handed over in a sampradaya from the founder acharya of the sampradaya. The original teachings and the founder acharya of the sampradaya should be worshipped with all respects. So both should be worshipped, the original teachings and the founder acharya. We do Guru Puja or Prabhupada Guru Puja. He's our founder acharya, and he presents the original teachings, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, the founder acharya of the Sampradaya. So one should be loyal to the conclusions and instructions of the founder acharya, not taking teachings of others. One should take as Shiksha Guru only a person who is following faithfully the teachings of that acharya. So it's important we instruct and preach that, especially to new devotees who want to take initiation, that they only listen to someone who is faithful and loyal to the teachings of Prabhupada. That I'm traveling in Europe and I see sometimes gurus from other sampradayas and also from, not in our line of Prabhupada. They come to, but they are also Vaishnavas. They come to the West, and then some of these aspiring devotees, they go to hear to their lectures, and at the end of the lecture, they receive initiation. Done. Because they know that it's ISKCON, and ISKCON is very strict. You must wait and so on. Because some of our gurus in ISKCON, they require disciples to wait 5 years, others 1 year, others 3 years. There's a diversity, but there's a waiting period. And and there are so many conditions. So that is coming up more and more devotees who are taking shelter of Babajis, of followers of the Nityananda Vamsa. They come, they travel, and they come in our areas, and they initiate devotees. But therefore it's important to train them, to tell them you should only listen to those who follow the teachings of the founder Acharya. So do not take teachings of others, only from those who are loyal to the teachings of the founder Acharya. Accepting unsuitable disciples, and that's a heavy statement. So you may think about it, of if you want to accept disciples later, that or at a certain moment. If a guru takes unsuitable people for disciples, he will have to suffer for that. And if a disciple takes an unqualified guru, he will accordingly suffer that. I think the next one, yeah. Anyway, this is a very important point made here, that for the years I'm guiding as Shiksha Guru many disciples, that and I instruct them according to the Guru Parampara, but many times they do not follow. If do not follow the basic instructions you give them. So we must be careful that unqualified disciples, even if a guru takes unqualified disciples, it's a little further here. We will come to that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the disciple and the guru both go to hell. It's quite a heavy statement. Prevention. In order to prevent the pain having to reject one's guru, one should carefully examine him to see if he is a pure devotee of Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said 1 year of examination. That I think the GBC law said a minimum 6 months, but different gurus have different standards. Maybe at some time they should standardize these things. But anyway, that's another discussion. Disobeying. Once having accepted a qualified guru, if one disobeys his instruction, one commits a great offense. This morning I heard Prabhupada saying, yes, if one takes in initiation, one agrees to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. If one does not follow the instructions, yeah, one is not a gentleman. So one should never disobey. If one agrees to do it, one should follow it. But here said it is a grave offense. So it's good to know that the disciple checks the guru. What does he expect from me? That so one must follow. There was a disciple of Prabhupada, was in the 70s, and Prabhupada was in Calcutta, and some of his disciples arrived. This disciple from America had been in contact with an Ayurvedic doctor, a famous Ayurvedic doctor at that time in Calcutta, and to because he wanted to be trained as an Ayurvedic doctor and become an Ayurvedic doctor. But then he met Prabhupada and Prabhupada said, why should you do that? What's the use of doing that? We have many allopathic doctors, he said. They have very good medicines, so what's the use? Don't do that. And then he forgot about it. He did not do it. And that was the right decision to follow the instruction of the Guru. So one should regard the Guru as one's Lord and Master, obey his words and instruction, and when seeing him, fall flat on the ground. So this is about the Guru. Srila Prabhupada also said, one time he said to the disciples, why am I translating these books? Why I'm getting up in the middle of the night, giving up my sleep, translating these books? It is for you to read. If you are not reading my books, Guru Avakya, I said, disobeying the instruction of the spiritual master. I found it also very interesting. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says about Guru Avakya, disobeying the instructions of the spiritual master. Certainly, many aspects here are quite actual in our movement today, and there's a need to rectify a lot of things. And yes, I'm opening for any discussion on this. If you want to make comments, questions, I don't know if I can answer anything, but you can. So please raise your hand if you want to make points here. Yeah. From Mickey Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna, dear Bhakti Prabhu Swami Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances of glories to Prabhupada. Maharaj, thank you very much for your kind explaining things. I would like to ask you one thing that, we are receiving actually so many instructions from our spiritual master through his books or lectures, and so it's so many lectures. And so my question is that we might be aware of some instructions, but some of them we are not aware of, or we forgot or something. So it is my understanding correct that this is also Guru Avagya, that we are not aware that we are not following some of those instructions. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. There are, of course, different kinds of instructions. Primary instructions, but there are also personal instructions. I've been GBC secretary for about 8 years, organizing the GBC meeting and so on. That, of course, everything what went well and what went wrong in our movement went to my head and my computer 28 years. So I know a little the history and how things are going in ISKCON. But once I was during the GBC meetings, I'm not going to tell the details, but Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, that of course he had got personal instructions from Prabhupada regarding the Bhaktivedanta Institute that Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was such a kind-hearted Vaishnava. I remember always at the beginning of the meeting, he came to me and praising my service and was such a kind person. But he was strict with regards to the instructions of Prabhupada, his personal instructions. And the entire GBC body wanted to decide something else. That wanted him to do something else and not following these personal instructions of Prabhupada. But Bhakti Swarup Maharaj said, no, this is my life and soul, I cannot deviate from it. But anyway, the GBC forced their decision through, but then later they rectified and they apologized to Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. But that I found interesting. He would not deviate from Prabhupada's even personal instructions. Although it said the GBC is the highest authority, that's also an instruction of Prabhupada. So it's a little gray area here. But sometimes it's not always clear that. But I would say the primary instruction, the basic instructions, we must follow. That it's not that you go to India and someone drives at the right side of the road, which is the wrong side, and then you have an accident and you say, oh, I didn't know that. So ignorance is no excuse there. But unknowingly, we make errors unknowingly. But that is not so grave as making an error knowingly. I give you an example. This I heard more than 50 years ago. I was married to children, and anyway, I went to this whole ordeal also. But at that time, my father-in-law, he was a little like a folklorist person. He would always tell jokes. But one time he said it was a Belgian police officer, and he went to Spain. And this is in the 70s, the time of Franco, that was still a dictator in Spain. But anyway, he went on vacation and was driving his car to France, to Spain. And in Spain, he was driving too fast. And the police stopped him. And he asked his passport. At that time, in the passport, they could see your profession. And he said, he asked him that you are a policeman. And I was saying, yes, I'm a policeman. Okay, the man said, then your fine is double. He doubled the fine because he had to give the example. So if we know the instructions of the spiritual master, we should give the examples. The example, because we are representing Prabhupada and his reputation. But if we are not following the instruction of the spiritual master, and we knowingly transgress them, surely that will hamper our progress in devotional service, I think. I hope that Pran Govinda Prabhu would raise his hand, and here he is, to give his valuable insights.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes, Pran Govinda.
Krishna, please accept humble obeisance. All the Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisance. All goes to Prabhupada. I love your presentation, Maharaj. You mentioned one thing twice, that without inquisitive, no relationship. That's so wonderful. That's so powerful word or sentence, I would say. That without inquiring or without question, there is no relationship. It's very nice. Maharaj, I was trying to understand when Prabhupada's conversation with Dr. Patel, he said, I cannot submit without understanding. And that is what I was taught in my school. But Prabhupada says, no, because you do not submit, that's why you don't understand. Opposite way.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Patel says, I'm paraphrasing Maharaj, I don't know. He said, no, I cannot submit until I understand. Prabhupada said, no, tad viddhi pranipad and pariprasnana. First of all, pranipad. I'm doing pranipad, then Dr. Patel says. But then Prabhupada says, no, Dr. Patel says, am I disrespecting you? If you take, then please forgive me. Prabhupada said, no, it is not a question of disrespect, but that is not full surrender. So my question is, I'm not so clear. Like, should I just accept it, whether I understand or not, and then act on it, then it will manifest? Or actually I should have because pariprasna, the word pariprasna, inquisitiveness enable me to start seeing the way my guru wants to show or internalize. And some light from your vision, Maharaj.
Well, I was thinking of Srila Prabhupada when he went to Koshi to hear from his spiritual master who gave a lecture that Srila Prabhupada writes it says in a lecture, but it's also mentioned in the Lilamrita. My Guru Maharaj, he said, was speaking very high philosophy, but I could not understand everything. But still, I was continuing to hear with attention. That so that I found interesting. You may not be able to understand everything the Guru says, but what we understand, we try to follow. That, but then it's the duty of the spiritual master to inquire further. So not understanding is not really an excuse. So, but like I said, when one is ignorant, that the ignorance of details and so on, and one transgresses this is not the greatest offense, but one must be willing to rectify. Because factually, this 10 offenses is something in the heart. Krishna is in our heart. The Dami Buddhi Yogam Tamo. Tena Brahma Hridaya Adhikavi. Krishna gives knowledge to the heart. And that's how we are advanced spiritually. That if we are giving up these offenses, Krishna starts to give us these realizations and so on. So the main point here is our attitude towards the Guru. I want to surrender. So things may not be clear always, all right. But Krishna sees that also. We want to understand, and as the knowledge comes, we try to follow the instructions. Anyway, your question was a little more subtle. I didn't understand everything, but I hope that helps. Let's go to
It did.
Yes.
It did, Maharaj.
Okay.
It did, but little more clarity that Pariprasnana Sevaya to serve Guru with inquisitiveness, but it's not for blind faith in the name of humbleness. Oh, I am humble to Guru. I just listen, but I don't understand. How am I going to act? So, but for development of our capacity for spiritual perception, so I would say by this perception, maybe I will be able to see myself that I'm actually following what Guru wants me to follow.
Yes, right.
Okay.
I was traveling with Prahladananda Swami. He was always preaching. When he was speaking on 434 about his submission, where Prabhupada said, blind following is condemned. He would always tell the story about he was an old guru. His body was old, and he was sitting on a horse, and his disciples were walking with him, and he was wearing a hat, and it was very sunny outside, and but there was a big wind suddenly, and his hat blew away. The wind blew it away. And all these disciples who were with him, none of the disciples was taking up the hat. And he asked the disciples, why are not taking up my hat? After the disciples said, you did not instruct us to do. And the guru said, take up my hat. He said, he instructed them, whatever falls from the horse, you should pick up and give to me. Okay. So they took the hat and the guru on the horse, put it on his head, and they continued. And then again a wind came and blew again away the hat, and the hat fell on the ground. At that moment, the horse started to pass through, and they took the hat and put it under the horse, and all the stool came into the hat and gave it to the guru. So they followed these instructions. So that's blind following. There should be some, yeah, of course. One should deliberate on the instructions and understand the meaning why and how to practice it. But anyway, that's some story between.
That's very good. Thank you, Maharaj. That shows your example shows like gradual development, Jnana Chakshu. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Krishna. So, Kamalapati Prabhu, yes.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj.
Sorry.
Very interesting topics. My translator will say.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So, Prabhu has a question that if a spiritual master gives an instruction, direct instruction to a disciple, and the disciple is not qualified to follow that one, although he tried many times, so what he should do? And then, is it comes in the list of Guru Avagya?
Yeah. Kamalapati Prabhu, you must know we have that Bhakti Charumaharaj instructed us. He told us, all the disciples, the day before the Bhagavatam class, you must memorize. You must read the verse for next day and memorize it, so that you know the verse and you read the purport. So, but you memorize the verse before the day before the class, so that you know the verse when the class comes up. Well, it's a reality that none of my god brothers and sisters and myself can do that. If we would every day memorize a verse of the Bible, then we would have now a big knowledge, but we are unable to do that. And yeah, that's. But of course, we understand the spirit of that instructions, and should try to follow it as much as we can. But we may have some inability. Srila Prabhupada, his Guru Maharaj instructed them to the West. Prabhupada was not able to do that, but finally in his old age, he took the strength, I'm going to do it. It may take some time, but we can see the instruction of the spiritual master, especially these personal instructions, as a goal in our life. But unfortunately, we are, or fortunately, I don't know, I want to remain neutral in it, but we are in ISKCON. And it's a movement. We have to cooperate with all the leaders and so on. And some of the leaders may not agree with the instructions our Guru Maharaj gave us. And that is also an issue. So it's quite complex. But as disciples, we try our best to follow it. And it is not always in our hands, but Krishna sees if we try our best. That is my approach to it. I don't know that Kamnapati Prabhu, if that helps.
की क्लास है सिटी बोलो
No, Maharaj class. Maharaj, he is kind of satisfied, not 100%, but he kind of satisfied.
Yeah,
की क्लास
yeah.
শ্লোক বিষয়ে শ্লোক মুখস্থ করতে হবে সেটা নির্দেশ দিয়েছে
সেটা ঠিক
তো মানে
Okay, thank you. Let's take the last point before we go to the fourth offense. I agree.
Yes, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. My question is, Maharaj, that we every day we recite this Guru Puja, that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Karya Aikya.
Yeah.
And then again this Divya Gyan Hruday Prakasita, creatively manifest. So our process is ascending or descending. We receive the knowledge. It is already proved. So we should not have to analysis, or we should not have to take exam that whether it is correct or not. Maybe it may be sentiment, but we should have to accept that the Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. That we should not have to analyze this, whether it is correct or not. So sometimes we can consider it is sentiment that you accept Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you have no realization about that. So how we consider? And other also second question. After answer,
let's start with one. I'm getting older and my memory is limited. But I try my best. So Gurumukha Padma Vakya, that means we should absorb ourselves in the instruction of the spiritual master. And as we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, that then Krishna says, Tesham Satyuktam Bhachampiti Bhuktam Dadami Buddhyogantam. Dadama, I give you knowledge from within. I give you realizations that, and that is Divyaganite Pokasita. To the heart, Krishna gives us realizations. When we take the instruction of the spiritual master of as our life and soul, we follow them. That so it's not a sentimental process. It's not just a question of knowledge, but how to practice this knowledge in our lives. And if we sincerely practice, Krishna is pleased. Yeah, although we don't have love for Krishna, we accept it as pretty purvakam, a little love. And then the Dami Buddhyogantam. Tenya Brahma Hridaya Adkavi. Lord Brahma got the knowledge in the same way. That's my understanding of this meaning of what we sing every morning. That so yeah, the second part of your question.
I want to clear also this part that Krishna also said that Nasayami Atma Bhavastha Jnana Dipena Bhasvata. So first he will be destroy our misconception of like a the Siddhanta, Miss-Siddhanta. Will you remove this, then we will realize, or you will immediately realize that this is the thing.
Yeah, that's correct. That is, Krishna says, Dami Buddhyogantam, I give you this realization. How does he do that? He explains in the next verse. Tesham evana kampatama jnana Cintamani chama bhavastu jnana dipena bhasvata. With the lamp of knowledge, I enter the heart and I remove all ignorance, because this Divya Jnana is already there. Because we are spirit souls, it's there, but it's covered over. He removes the ignorance, and then the realization comes up. That is what happens. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. My second question is, Maharaj, sometimes a guru gives some personal instruction. Like you gave example about Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj also gives some universal instruction, means social instruction, common instruction, like you should have to follow GBC. But sometimes he have given this personal instruction you should have to do, like personal preaching activities. And if GBC or management decide no, whatever we will decide, you should have to do. So what a disciple should we give priority? That personal instruction or managerial instruction?
Yeah, you try to execute these personal instructions. If the GBC instructs you otherwise, that's fine. Then we don't follow that instructions. But with the understanding that the GBC takes responsibility. They take responsibility for the consequences of this. That because the Guru also instructs us, as in ISKCON, GBC is the highest authority. That yeah, that's this are the instructions or the consequences of gurus working in ISKCON together with the GBC. That it's a sensitive matter. I'm telling you this, what's evident from the instructions of the GBC and the guru who has to cooperate with the GBC. But it's sensitive for every disciple because it are personal instructions of the guru. And if you cannot follow it, it's yeah, it hurts. That's my experience. That it's not an easy issue, but that general principle is there. You follow the instructions of the guru, ISKCON guru, but if the GBC can supersede that instruction, that is, although this is a special situation in ISKCON, that how to work as a guru in ISKCON, that and a disciple in ISKCON. It is new because if we read Prabhupada books, Srila Prabhupada never mentioned these things that in his books. And nobody has asked Srila Prabhupada about it. And it's like some gray area between that. Firstly, I'm still not out of it. I'm still feeling somewhat unsatisfied, but that's the situation in ISKCON for the moment. It's what I could say. I agree with Prabhu. I'm telling you personally what my feelings are about that. It's not an
But
easy
how we can make a harmony with these two instruction that you should be follow same time ISKCON decision and also personal instruction. So it may be again.
in some cases, it may not be possible. Then we have to follow the GBC. That's the ISKCON ethics so far. That, but I'm saying again that it's not with nice feelings that I would accept it in the heart, but it's reality in ISKCON. Okay.
So disciples should be sacrifice his individual instruction for the great benefit, means mass benefit to satisfy GBC or to follow GBC.
That's right. That's the idea. That okay. I think you want to discuss this further. Madhava Prabhu? No.
Maharaj, you mentioned about this very interesting topic about the GBC taking responsibility if they're giving an instruction, and also Guru's instruction. We see one thing, that when the Lord gives an instruction, he also provides the information that is required in the heart to enlighten us. But even though the GBC takes the responsibility for the instruction, they are not able to provide that information that is required, or the enlightenment that is in the heart, or can they?
Yeah, that's a good comment. That's something to explore. That maybe, well, you are bringing forward the point which causes the dissatisfaction in my heart. Good, thank you. That the last comment, Sundar Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I was just came in my mind that when we read Srila Prabhupada books, then most of the places Prabhupada is speaking only about a spiritual master. Like we should follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Spiritual master is life and soul for the disciples. All over his books we read only spiritual master. And hardly we find like instruction that we have to follow GPC.
Yeah.
So of course in the deeds which Prabhupada has mentioned GBC. Yeah, so like this always comes in our mind whenever we read Srila Prabhupada books. That Prabhupada is emphasizing that creates confusion like again and again, and sometimes you become puzzled like in such situation what to do, as the group also mentioned. So because books are very clearly telling again and spiritual master, spiritual master.
Yeah.
That's all my comment.
Yeah, I have the same observation. Thank you. That's very good point. We will now go on with the fourth offense. I first must start my PowerPoint. Fourth offense. Okay. For its skepticism of scripture. That, will share the screen. Here it is. That's Shruti Nandana, criticism of scriptures. That I found when I went to this section that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur will give 9 topics of what the Vedas represent, the knowledge of the Vedas in 9 topics. Found this interesting. He speaks also about 6 deviant philosophies. If one believes in these philosophies, one commits Shruti Nandana. But it starts with how to understand the scriptures and to understand how the scriptures are above any speculation of or above the mystics of human frailties. The Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Puranas emanate from the breathing of Krishna. Yes, that they constitute perfect knowledge and authority. It's the final proof in spiritual matters. So devotees accept this final proof and that is the difference between the devotees and the demons, explained at the end of chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita, that Yasyastra vidimuchvichya vartate kamakarata nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukam napramgatim. He who discards scriptural instructions, acts according to one's own whims, attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. But Tashma Shastram Pramanam te Karyakara Vyavastita Yatvas Shastra Vidanuktam Karma Kartamidarasi. When you should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures, knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may be highly elevated. So by the scriptures, we know how to act and not to act. That by the mercy of the scriptures, we can elevate ourselves. Because the highest Purana is the Srimad Bhagavatam. That so here you have these 4 defects. I'm not going to deep into that because we know that in the beginning of Shri Upanishad, Srila Prabhupada explains that also. The foreword or the introduction is from a lecture he gave in Cornwall, how in London, that was one of the first times Srila Prabhupada came to London, were mostly Indians who attended, and he spoke about the importance of the Vedas, and that's very clearly mentioned these 4 defects: limited sense perception, illusion, seating, propensity, mistakes. So the Vedas are above that. That there is no tinge of speculation, it's the truth. And that's also the Bhagavatam in the beginning, 112. It rejects Kaitava Dharma. That's cheating religion. That approaching the spiritual realm with the material senses, one cannot perceive anything beyond the material level of unconscious matter. The spiritual realm is unapproachable beyond the material level of unconscious matter. The spiritual realm is unapproachable without the aid of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna has given the Vedas, which are beyond the 4 folds of the senses. So what's in the scriptures? The wise man will understand that karma and jnana are secondary and worthless as independent processes, and that the path of bhakti is the essence. And so that's, of course, we know also the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, 6 Goswamis. Nana Shastra Vicharana Kanipano Sadharma Samsta Pako Lokana Titakarino Tibhuvane Manya Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Pada Ravinda Vachana Nandina Matalika Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragujiva Jiva Gopalaka. This verse says that the 6 Goswamis, they extracted the essence of all the Vedic literature and that and presented it. And that essence is bhakti. And in the bhakti scriptures, yes, we have also explained as this karma and jnana are worthless. That they are just mukti and bhakti are the witches that then go to the next slide. Now the Vedas explains 9 topics that 9 topics. So the first 6 topics are explained here on the screen. That there is the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and the Lord is the possessor of all energies. That's also what Jiva Goswami says, who is also a founder Acharya. He established the essence, he established the foundation of our theology, practically. That, and he says, yes, like we find in the Bhagavatam, that Vedanta Tattvam Jnanam Atvayam Prameti Paramatmiti Bhagavaniti Sapyate. The sages have concluded that the Vedas, or the Vedantists have concluded that the absolute truth has three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The Jiva Goswami quotes that verse and he says, yes, but the qualities of Bhagavan, or of the absolute truth, are fully manifest only in Bhagavan. But then you have Bhagavan, and then Bhagavan has his energies. Now you have Lord Vishnu and his energies. And that's where the impersonalists fail to explain that what are these energies, that were the source of his energies. They get in trouble there with their philosophy. And then Krishna is a fountainhead of all rasas and is situated in his dham, where he internally enjoys, give joy to the jivas, thus the bhakti ras, explained in Nectar of Devotion, the joy of bhakti ras. Then the jivas are particles of the Lord, unlimited in number, infinitesimal in size, but conscious. The jivas are eternally bound in material universes, being attracted by illusory pleasure, so they are conditioned, these jivas. Some jivas are eternally liberated and engaged in worshipping Krishna. They reside with him as associates in the spiritual sky and experience prema. So you have the conditioned and the liberated souls. And then 7. Krishna exists with his energies, the material energy, Jiva energy, and spiritual energy, in a state of simultaneous identity and differentiation, permitting all, yet remaining aloof, which is only possible by his inconceivable power. So that's Asintya Beta Beta. The process specifically mentioned, Abhideya, for the Jiva in the Vedas, is a ninefold process of devotional first service, divided into Vaidhi and Raga Bhakti. Of the 9 processes, the hearing and chanting are principal means. And you have this Vaidhi and Raga Bhakti. I was just hearing from Prabhupada explaining that he explains in a lecture that our relationship with Krishna is fixed, that it's eternal, cannot be changed. But when when the heart becomes purified and ignorance is removed, that relationship will manifest again. Then you will realize what kind of servant of Krishna you are and what your relationship is. And when that inclination comes, you will be attracted spontaneously to your eternal relationship. But when that attraction comes, you can further this. You can accelerate it by performing Raganuga Bhakti. That's the moment to perform Raganuga Bhakti and not before. So you have Vaidhi and Raga Bhakti. And then the final goal or constitutional platform of the jivas is the activity of pure bhakti that is attained by the mercy of Krishna. Yes, the higher stages from Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, mercy of Krishna. That before, in the first stages, from Shraddha to Nishtha, we do our part, that we perform the sadhana, that and Krishna does his part, he purifies our heart when we avoid the offenses. But in the higher stage is all the mercy of Krishna. So these are the principles for the guidance of the jivas, which are denoted by the Vedas. If one criticizes the Vedas, that is no offense to the holy name. So, and then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions 6 personalities who invented theories. That, so Jaimini does not recognize the Supreme Lord and recommends karma kanda, activity independent of worship of God. Of course, Krishna uses that also. That philosophy uses that to stop the Indra Jahya. The rest is karma kanda. By concoction, Kapila, the atheist, thinks that the Lord is imperfect, recommends the process of yoga without understanding its goal. That, that's, they think yoga is meant to merge with Brahman. But Krishna points directly to in Bhagavad Gita, points directly to the goal of yoga. Citatma Prasantasya Paramatma Samaita. The purpose of Astanga Yoga is to find Krishna in the heart. And then taking shelter of philosophy that everything is illusion, the Jains rage against the Vedas. That, and then the atheist Sharvaka. Sharvaka said, yeah, whether you have to borrow or steal, make sure that you have wealth and can engage in sense gratification. That's the goal of life. And the Vedas forget about it. The Buddhist Gautama does not worship the Lord, but instead thinks of human beings. Yeah. In the philosophy of the Mayavadis, there are distortions of the meaning of the Vedas. No need to go too deep into it. But it's good to know these things. In chapter 87 of Krishna book, or the 10th canto, there in Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book, that speaks the prayers of the Vedas personified. And Srila Prabhupada in the purpose there defeats these 6 darshans, which are all speculations. But yeah, we know that, but if we read them, if we absorb ourselves in, what happens? Believing these philosophies makes one an offender. If the jiva can accept the direct meaning of the Vedas, which is the path of pure bhakti, he will be awarded with the sweetness of prema. The principal sound in the Vedas, Om, which is the name of Krishna, and by chanting the name can achieve the goal of life. The Vedas state that the holy name is the spiritual form of the Lord in the material world. So it's so powerful that even a faint influence of the name can bring about perfection. Since the Vedas and teachings, the Vedas are teaching, chanting of the pure name, since the Vedas are teaching that chanting of the pure name is a principal process, to criticize the Vedas is to criticize the name. If we criticize the Vedas, we criticize the holy name, we criticize Krishna. So what are the Vedas saying? Just a few of the teachings that mentioned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Vedas say, just chant the name of the Lord, and by that you will receive the highest form of bliss. So even in the spiritual sky, the great personalities are chanting the holy name. So we have heard the gopis, they are chanting the holy name during the rasa dance when Krishna appeared, and it forced Krishna to reappear. So that's what they do in Goloka Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur said, Gokulera Harinama Prema, Prema Dan. Yeah, so this chanting of the holy name comes from Golok. So and it was brought to us by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, who is the master of Golok. And if we chant his holy name without offenses, it will bring us back to Golok. So that's the power. It comes from the spiritual sky. So Maya Devi gives the atheist worldly happiness or punishment according to their activities. Yes. But one who serves the devotees, she gives shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. If one worships Krishna and his name, she helps him to overcome the material ocean. So these are all teaching of the Vedas, which are the basic principles. So if one blasphemes the Vedas, what to do? That's the remedy. If by misfortune or accident it happens that one commits Shruti Nandana, one should be repentant and offer his respect to the scriptures. With attention, one should offer flowers to the Bhagavatam and the Vedas. Being the essence of the Vedas, an incarnation of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam will give unlimited mercy. So you do puja for the Bhagavatam. So that was the fourth offense summary. So any question or comments? Yes, Chandra Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you mentioned in one of the slides, it was mentioned that regarding the Gemini, he was also propagated anti-Vedic theory. And we have heard one Gemini in Brihad Bhagavatamritam, Gemini Janmeja talk. So this Gemini and that Gemini is different. Just wanted to know.
That I don't know. I don't know that. Maybe someone else knows. You can raise your hand if you have a comment on it. So I don't know. Thank you.
It's the same Jaimini Maharaj is a disciple of Vyasdev.
Vyasadeva. Okay.
Yes. And Prabhupada said, he didn't say about sannyas candidate, but Prabhupada says in 116 that before sitting on a Vyasasana, one should be converse with all these six philosophy, and Jaimini is one of them. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, these six philosophies, again, they are mentioned in the chapter 87 of the 10th Canto, Krishna book, and it's good to read them and understand their falsity and how to correct them. But if you are established in the principles of explaining Srila Prabhupada's books, you are able to do that. Okay, Rukmini Krishna Prabhu, happy to see you and hear you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, Maharaj. Maharaj, in one of those slides which Sundar Gopal was referring, you are mentioning Gemini along with the Jainism and Buddhism. But as per my understanding, Jainism, Buddhism, Charvak philosophy, they are atheistic philosophy.
Yeah.
And but Jaimini's Karma Mimamsa comes under the sixth Shad Darshan, which is mentioned in the Vedas.
Yeah.
Although they are not pointing towards the Supreme Lord, but they are mentioned in the Vedas. So, as per my understanding, they are not atheistic philosophies.
Yeah, but I think Prabhupada saying they are atheistic, that because they are not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord.
But they accept the Vedas.
If they accept the Vedas, they should accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God.
Yes.
And that's not
So
the
they're
case.
not able to.
It's not
Yes.
the Karmakanda philosophy is not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God. The Jnanis, the Vaisheshaki, and the atomic theory and so on, that mostly some are impersonal. It's all speculation. That's what it is. That because otherwise Srila Prabhupada would not make such a strong point in the 87th chapter of Krishna book and refuting them all one after another in detail. That refutation is that they are not accepting Krishna as Supreme Personality of God. That of course the last one is the Vedanta. One can argue that the real Vedanta is the Bhakti Vedanta. But it's not Bhakti Vedanta, then Vedanta is also in that category. Mm-hmm. Good. I see.
Yes. Maharaj, in Bhagavad Gita, one purport, I think it may be 17th chapter, Anudbegam Karang Bhakya Satyam Priyam Hitam Chajat. So Prabhupada, in his purport, he says that whatever you will speak, that you should be quote from Shastra. That is the tapasya of Bani, the austerity of word. So if one sit in Vyasasana, but if you will speak something and which is not concluded with a shastric reference or siddhant, so that may be Sutri Shastra Nindanam.
That it depends the motivation why you present it. If you present it to show afterwards it's falsity, then it's okay. But that is something to be careful if there is a red line. And Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have that purport from the Anukriya Karamvakyam here. Saint Prabhupada said one should not speak in such a way to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students and so on. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. If we Prabhupada's lectures, you can see he quotes one verse after another. Always, and what he says mostly is backed up with verses, although he's not quoting the verses. So we should be very careful. It's like a law book. a lawyer quotes from the law book. And our law book is the Vedic literature, especially Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And we should not represent something else. Sometimes I hear also lectures by devotees, and during a whole lecture they are not quoting any verse, but they may point to appropriate inappropriate attitudes, but Prabhupada never did it. He always quoted Shastra. And we should follow his example and avoid quoting things which are not supported by the Vedic literature. But of course, it's the duty, especially of a spiritual master, to explain the scriptures in terms of what one can understand, that one can understand the principles in the modern context. And that's all right, but one must do that in an appropriate way and not in a speculative way. That and always referring to the principles in the Vedas, in the scriptures, because they are all spiritual techniques. We are factually only explaining the spiritual techniques. So my point is something to be very careful of. There is a fine borderline. Does that help?
And also another point regarding this Shastra, like Prabhupada mentioned in first canto, I think first chapter, Sutta Janasi Bhadrang Te Bhagavan, like this verse. Anyacha Munaya Sarve Paravidu Vidumpar. Like this verse means you are well versed in all scriptures, so that we accept that you should speak the essence of Shastra. And Prabhupada mentioned in that purport, I remember as well, that before sitting on Vyasasana, one should be well versed on Mahabharata, Ramayana, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavatam. So sometimes we see in a temple that everyone not well versed in Mahabharata or Ramayana, so all these scriptures. But a speaker is required, so anybody can sit on Vyasasana. So that is a committee offense for the Vyasasana, or what we should decide.
Well, before I comment on it, I want to share something with all of you. In the beginning of the 90s, when I joined Radhadesh, only sannyasis and Prabhupada disciples were allowed to sit on the Vyasasana, nobody else. Then a few years later, it's more mid-90s, by GBC law or something, it changed. And then only Brahman initiated devotees would be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana. But today, practically everyone sits on the Vyasasana. It's so watered down that but sitting on the Vyasasana, okay, that's in the Bhagavatam. One should know Mahabharata and the Ramayana and so on. I read it also a few times, but don't remember as much, or not as much as I would want. But for us, what does it mean? It means what one should be acquainted with Srila Prabhupada's books. That's important. Krishna Prabhupada said everything is in my books. And we can be acquainted with the basics of the philosophy. So before sitting on the Vyasasana, because it's a responsibility. And if you speak something deviated from Srila Prabhupada's teachings or from the scriptures, from the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, it's a responsibility to explain it as it is according to one's realization. We have, of course, all our realization that it's also said one should be able to defeat his 6 darshans, to sit on the Vyasasana, but it means he must be acquainted with the basic principles of our philosophy. That, but today it's a little watered down, and I think we could inspire all the authorities to follow that a little more strictly, because there is always this chance of making offenses to the scriptures that should not be the least speculation in our presentations. And that's not an easy thing. So that's what I could say. I have a good. So we went to the first 4 offenses. I presented. I have prepared up to the 10th offense and also the 11th offense. I have PowerPoints for each of them, and it was my first deep study of the Harinama Cintamani. But I will work further on it, and if Krishna willing, next year we can have again 2 sessions and go deeper in these 10 offenses of Harinama Cintamani, because it is so essential. If we want to make advancements, we must avoid these offenses. And that's the main blockage why we are not making advancement. That the deeper we understand that, and it's our duty also to help others to overcome these offenses. And therefore, that I agree to make that presentation. It was a little short time, but I hope next year, with your blessings, I will try to present the rest of the story. Thank you very much. But, so we will end here. Rajendra Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Manas, for your enlightening session. So we'll meet tomorrow morning from 11 to 1 slot. His Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Swami Maharaj ki, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki, Vancha Kalpadrupa Sandhya, Satyasana Paramani.